Hi everyone, I'm Fawn. I'm with Shalom Garden Club. I am going to take off my mask so you can see my face. We are in a safe environment, don't worry, no COVID around here. But I am going to show you a live demo of how I did my design for Art in Bloom. It's not going to be exact because just we're winging it and it was a last minute thing and I already took the centerpiece and everything apart. But what inspired me was, here was this big fish and the plastic, and I kind of wanted to do something in a fish tank, and then I was like, no, I don't have enough room to put stuff in. And I am studying Ikebana, I gotta say it correctly, otherwise my teacher will get mad. And they believe in not using a lot of flowers, but it creates that emotion and nature. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of that. So I am using a Kensign, which is like a frog or a pin cushion, to basically put a design in so I could submerge it. And if you see the plastic and stuff from the bottles, so I took water bottles that we had and I spray painted it with Design Master. I'm not promoting any products, but just so you know what I did, and I spray painted it and I made a slit in one, but you could still put water in it, and I will add some flowers to that just to get the whole flow of the design. And then I took another bottle and I kind of crushed it because that's how it looks in the picture. But because I'm submerging it with the water, I didn't want it to start to float. And someone whose mother actually started the garden club gave me her marbles that she had, and I was able to use them, which is kind of nice and kind of neat that here, one of the founders of the garden club over 75 years ago, I have the marbles that she used, and I'm going to use it in the design today. And what I did is, well, I'll get to that part later. Basically, I got these great heliconias from Beth. She picked them up for me because when I went to the market this morning, they were out of them, and I was in a panic, and they said, don't worry, they're coming in. So she's like, I'll get them for you, which was so nice. And Beth is the videographer. She's told to put me to look 10 pounds thinner today. So that's her job, not only just recording, but what I'm doing is I'm kind of just looking to see which ones are kind of leaning to one side and kind of looking like the fish that are swimming. And like I said, I am studying Ikebana, and you really get to learn. It has a lot of rules, which I don't really like because I'm not a ruly person. But what it does teach you is how to look at things differently, and you have to make sure it's looking up to the sun. And so I really am enjoying it. And some people decide to learn, to be a master gardener, but I am not one of those people that keep a decorative compost container on my counter, and would rather go to a nursery than go shopping or plan a trip to an arboretum or botanical gardens. I'd rather go somewhere else. So I said, I'll try Ikebana. So what I am doing, and in Ikebana, you are supposed to cut underwater, which I'm not doing that, but you usually have a little bowl of water and you are to make your cuts under the water. But I actually want the flowers coming up and out, so I am putting them in the Kensign just to push it down. And it looks easier than it is, but it's really not, because you want them to go a certain way. And this was to represent the fish, and the fish is kind of leaning, the big fish is kind of leaning up that way, so I kind of want him doing that in this as well. And what I did is to give it a little bit of yellow, I use this decorative wiring. It's called, what is this called again? The
bind wire.
Bind wire. See, Beth is a pro. I don't know, she should be doing this. So bind wire, and you could get this online. And I just like made it a little decorative and give it a little pop of color, a little bling, because I like blingy. And I'm gonna add a little more just to get it in. But I did not use a lot of materials. I just used this heliconia, and I also used this seagrass, and I cut it low, and I really did not use a lot of material, but it gives it that texture, and it gives it that feel, and it really has that underground water feel to it. So I'm just gonna put one a little lower, and I'll explain what to do. But as I said, it's just to give you an idea of how to do something like this. And the whole thing is just to have fun, even though it gets a little stressful. And I'm gonna save this stick in case I wanna stick another one in, but it really is fun. And it already looks good, don't you think, already?
Yeah.
Like just outside of the water. But once you start putting it in the water, it gets a little hairy. And then here are the grasses, and I kind of just let it flow and go with the direction of how the fish was going, just to get your eye going that way. But there's no right or wrong in interpretation of art, and even playing with flowers, and even starting to grow. This summer I grew some vegetables in my house on the vineyard, and I have to say I cheated a little because I have this great girl, Wendy. She's like, I call her the plant lady. She's amazing with plants, and she helped me. And at first I was like, I don't know how people like eat all that. Like, how am we gonna like get enough stuff to like really eat? Because I have a son who's 22 and he could eat so much food. So I'm like, I don't know. But then everything started growing and coming in, and it was amazing. So I just wanted to tell you, the seed catalogs are out. You can order some. I only brought one, but it just gives you something to look at if you're interested. But what the seed catalogs don't tell you is that when it says like a favorite for birds, a favorite for birds means don't plant it near your house or by your car or by your driveway, because you're gonna get bird poop. And then it says like grows more beautiful each year. What does that mean? That it's ugly like the first few years? So you have to learn to interpret the little bits of gardening, which Wendy didn't tell me that stuff, but she knows enough to like keep it away, my plant lady friend. So then what I did for this, because I do want to submerge it, I took these, I don't know if you could see them. Can you zoom in on this a little?
Yeah, I can try.
These winter jewels, and they come in a package just like this, and you take them like only like a tablespoon of it, not a lot, and you put it in water, and they kind of blow up. They like blow up to these like really cool beads. I had a little injury coming in here. I was opening up the flowers. I got a huge paper cut, so there's no bandages, so we had a little improv. So that's why I have a big Band-Aid on my, and these beads kind of blow up, and they're really cool. You gotta be careful with them because they bounce all over the house, especially if you have a cat or a dog, and you don't want them to go down the sink. So what I'm gonna do is maybe I'll put a few beads in just to give it a little bit on the bottom. You see how they bounce? They just bounce all over the place. Ooh, they're kind of fun. And then I'm gonna enter this because I think this is pretty much okay as far as the design. It's not exactly how I had it for when we did it, but that's okay. And that's the thing about flowers. Like this morning I was freaking out when they didn't have the heliconia, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna use? What am I gonna do? Then they had these other flowers, but they were $68 a bunch, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not spending that kind of money. That's ridiculous. So I just said, all right, we'll have to wing it. So thank God Beth was there and she got it. And then I'm kind of putting this in. You could put this in first. And I'm using also the weight of the bottle to like hold down this Kenzyme, because once you add water, you don't want the whole thing to like float up. But maybe I'll move this a little. Does it look okay? Because I'm not like, yeah. Okay, can't really see. And I thought it was like a message in the bottle. And you know, and you really do have to be careful with the environment nowadays, because climate change is real and the ocean levels are rising, and it just really, you want to protect it, you know? You want it for the next generation. So I want to show you the cool thing about this. So when you put these in, like you can see how they're like, looks like the balls and stuff, but then when I add some water, and you could actually have them floating, but I didn't do that for this arrangement, and I'm using distilled water, because if you use regular water, sometimes it gets cloudy the next day. If I could open this, hold on, between my paper cut and my, hold on, oh, here it goes. So I'm using distilled water, and then when you pour the water in, you'll see, watch, it won't work, but when you put the water in, they kind of disappear. So you don't really see that. Can you see how they like just kind of fade into the, so you don't even know that there's water that there's water in there. Oh, but I forgot something, but that's okay. So it's just cool, because you could really have the flowers floating, and I'm gonna put one in just to have it floating, just so you could see how it looks like it's kind of submerged in the water there. It's kind of cool. Sometimes you cut them. I'm just gonna show you like how when you put it in, it kind of like, it's floating, but it's really being held up by these rocks. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It looks like it's floating. So it's kind of cool, but what I did, which I didn't do now, but I actually took pebbles to hide the Kenzyme with this bright blue that I just bought at the pet store. Actually, my kids had a fish, and I had it in the basement because I'm a hoarder, and I still had the fish tank from 26 years ago. So you know, I would put them in, but I think they will float now, but just to give it the color of it. And they're just rocks, like I said, from the pet store. And then my friend, because I threw everything out, thank God she had the water bottle plastic. I said, does anyone have plastic from the bottle? So she had it, and because it was so visual in the picture there, I said, let me incorporate it just to have it. And then I would fill this with water normally, and then I'll just use this one because I feel like cutting them all really breaks my heart a little. And then I used, just to carry the theme down and get your eye to go. And then I had that kind of on the side there, peeking out. And then I had the plastic coming out of there. And, oh, like moved. But you could attach this on. I'm not having it as focused as it was, but you could use a glue dot or hot glue it. I'm just putting it on just for now. Could even just like leave it like that, around that. But so that was basically how I did the design. And you can't ask me any questions because we're doing this without anyone here. But I wanted to tell you, this year I was reading some stuff about like the design trends and what's going on in the flower industry. And this is definitely much taller than I had it, but it's okay. But they said yellow is very big this year. It's like the color trend, because I think people want to be happy, and after this crazy year with COVID and everything, and how different colors evoke emotions, which they do, and I just wanted to tell you what the in trend is, because I like that. I like being trendy, even though I didn't use yellow, but my picture didn't have yellow in it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Anything else I need to say, or?
It looks great.
It looks good?
Yeah.
It looks okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
It looks
you.
good. All right, good. All right.